Hello, I'm Emmanuel Kenning, Content Editor of Insurance Age, and welcome to our new video and podcast series, Double Indemnity. In this edition, motor, property and casualty claims specialist Adrian looks at the role of brokers and their value in claims. He discusses technology in the sector and the importance of speedy communication, as well as bringing the next generation into the industry. We hope that you find great value in the conversations and that you enjoy the series. On with the show.
Welcome to the Double Indemnity podcast. I'm your host, Toby Clegg, with my co-host Stuart Reid here. And today we're going to delve into the fascinating world of claims. With us today is Adrian Gilbert, the Managing Director of SX3 and a known claims veteran, all-round industry stalwart when it comes to claims. So without further ado, welcome.
Hi, it's great to be here. Looking forward to being the victim of the Double Indemnity crowd.
How quaintly put. Well, let's start with the soft ones. So, could you just explain what your role is and what the company does?
Yeah, so SX3, we are a specialist claims management consultancy. We provide advice, support, and do a lot of performance review and auditing of the industry.
So you're looking at how, for example, insurance companies settle claims, the process they go through and the length of time it takes, etc., etc.
Yeah, and you could be looking at an in-house claims department, it could be looking at a TPA arrangement, it could be looking at the use of their suppliers, and you might be looking at one aspect of the claims handling, or you could be looking at consumer duty compliance, for example, or you could be looking at reserving, you could be looking at leakage, you could be looking at how they use the suppliers, as I say, or you could be looking at the whole thing from start to finish. So trying to work out where best practice is being evidenced, where the gaps are, quantifying that objectively and providing advice on how to improve.
Fundamentally, the readership of the Insurance Age publication that's sponsoring this event are brokers. And I think if you were to take a straw poll at the moment, they would suggest one of the areas of key concern is claim settlement and the service that insurers, whatever, provides. Would you echo that, or do you see, what would your view be on that?
Yeah, it's very hard to tar everyone with the same brush. Will brokers have frustrations with some of the claim service? Undoubtedly, I'm sure they do. Will they feel they're being kept fully informed? No, probably not at times. However, is there a significant range of examples of good practice we see in the market in the claims departments? And yes, there is. So I think we just need to put a balancing act in terms of that concern.
It's not all bad. There's a balance there. There are some that are good. There are some that are bad, as you would expect. But there's a middle ground there, is there?
Yeah, and I think most insurers value the relationship with their brokers. I think most claims departments recognise that there is a role for the broker to play, and therefore they're not cast aside. They're not being ignored. Yes, there are examples of poor performance, often because of resource stretch or whatever it might be, or it's simply because they've not set up something simple like a good customer portal to track claims on, which would make sense for a lot of brokers, and all they want to know is what's going on and be able to update their clients.
Yeah, that's a fair point. As someone who's obviously been on the receiving end of one of your audits, and I should note that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I know, but both from a reinsurer perspective and an insurer perspective, it was always quite interesting sitting there with the sweaty palms as your team comes in, and you think to yourself, have we done everything? Have we prepared enough? I used to crack out the good biscuits, not that it made any difference, but we tried. Even the good coffee.
Yeah.
But it was always interesting because...
Really? Was that?
Yeah, no, that was our best effort. So I'm not a good tea boy, by the way.
Right.
But no, I find it interesting because, as Stuart said, brokers have a very fixed view of claims service via each insurer. That it can be really hard-won reputations, and it can be easily lost at times. And certainly there's been a kind of dip and in performance at times, and then suddenly it's gone up again. You've had the COVID years and everything else. But for our broker partners listening today, can you give a bit of the feel of the ecosystem? Because I'm always getting shouted at, especially on the delegated authority facilities, things like that, that they look at it and say, well, the insurers are just ripping us off, or they're doing this, there's hardening rates because of their own poor claim service or anything else. But actually, there is quite a well-worn path to handling claims, isn't there? A lot of them are well handled attritionally, even if some of the large losses jump.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose ask yourself, what's the benefit to a claims department to provide bad service?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
claims departments get it in the neck every day if they're not delivering good service. They're going to get it in the neck from the underwriters, they're going to get it in the neck from the regulators, going to get it in the neck from the customers, and get it in the neck from the brokers.
Yeah.
Also, poor performance tends to make the claim take longer to settle.
Yeah.
And therefore it's burning your resource and it's costing more money.
The longer it takes, the more expensive it is, right?
That is typically true, but it's also you know, a good claim is a settled claim, and the longer you string out a claim that you don't need to, typically it becomes more expensive because their expectations will grow. You tend to get positions entrenched. Anyway, I guess the point I'm making is, I don't think you've got claims departments deliberately delivering a poor service, because it is not in their interest to do so from any front. So if a broker is frustrated at claim service, the chances are that the claims department, the claims manager, is equally as frustrated, and they will typically be doing everything they can to improve that service.
So the answer to it could be that if there is bad service, it's probably a lack of personnel or a lack of management of the information coming in, or it's more they're victims of their own environment rather than a belligerent attitude towards claims.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the different types of claims organisations you're dealing with, and you look at what's happened over the last few years, I mean, the last few years have been unprecedented in terms of volatility. You know, I'm not going to bore you with the history lesson. We all know about COVID. We all know about the impact on supply chains thereafter. We all know the impact about the sort of global tensions that have been there. None of these have helped claims operations deliver claim service. Every claims manager is looking at how to solve the capacity problem, might be that capacity in the teams, be that capacity in the supply chain. They're all looking at solutions to improve the service to the customers. So no one's not trying to deliver the service that the broker is looking for.
Yeah.
I guess certainly from the broker side, and particularly there aren't many around, but those medium-sized brokers and the larger brokers, it's fascinating to see, isn't it, that they're broadening horizons. So outside of the area that you're involved in, they're looking at private medical insurance as an extra string to their bow, and they're looking at loss assessing or whatever, buying loss adjusting business, loss assessing businesses to bring in. And I think it's much like the MGA discussions that we've had on this podcast, particularly with Mike Keating. MGAs too are becoming a burgeoning part of a broker's proposition. Do you get involved with MGAs? Well, you do, obviously, because you're nodding. Do you find the service, because there's been a lot of column inches about the service in claims through MGAs is not quite where it should be. I'm not asking you to bite the hand that feeds here, but do you feel that that is a fair generalisation in the MGA world?
I think if I talk about the various sort of different aspects of claims, if you look at a typical MGA, and yes, we have some clients who are MGAs, one of the attractions with the MGA market, one of the advantages of being an MGA is that you can move fast.
Light on your feet, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And often you're in startup mode at an MGA. So startup mode, I mean, you've been there.
Yes, absolutely. I'm on the board of 5.
Thank you. I mean, so sometimes it's a bit of a frontier. You're setting up your first claims team. You're setting up your first claim system. You're having to configure that. You're having to recruit new people in, whatever it's going to be. So early stage claims operations internally, you've got to get embedded in. The alternative is that you use an external TPA.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to get that relationship going as you need to get it going. The quality of service you're going to get from a TPA will very much depend upon how well you set your arrangement with that TPA. I think every TPA can give good service if you set up your arrangement with them correctly, you pay them fairly, and then you actively manage that relationship on a delegated authority. And I mean active, not just once a month check KPI stuff, but actually be in there.
Like Toby.
Yeah. I used to do the daily one. I used to have the PSLA number almost tattooed on my hand daily.
But why not?
4,800
But
or
actually,
whatever it was.
I mean, I can tell you that most TPAs welcome that level of engagement, because otherwise they're going, well, we're doing the work, but they're not really asking us, we don't really know what they want.
It's a very good point. And it's a funny one, because I've got to give credit to one of my colleagues, Lee Wellham. I'm sure he'll love the shout out for this, where he sat in a meeting and we were talking about the growth in the line and obviously like what we were going to do on an underwriting basis. And he was listening to me. He said, your problem is, Toby, that you are literally in underwriting, you're a Ferrari and we're the caravan, you've got a tow behind. And I thought it was a great analogy.
That's not a great analogy.
It kind of is.
Yeah, we're going to have words.
It is like that, because you've got to remember what you're dragging behind. We'd all have to go 100 miles an hour, but at some point that's got to play catch up.
We are damage limitation for what the underwriters, for the furrow that they just ploughed ahead.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, that's it. I know it's not a glamorous way of looking at claims, but I mean, we should actually like talk about a kind of because okay, this is ostensibly for obviously brokers and by extension obviously those that sell the policies, but equally there is a bit of a pinch point coming in terms of we know about the loss assessor issue in the future. There's not enough people coming into it. Your claims on, I'm sure it's quite hard to actually recruit for people at times. If you had to do a pitch for the new generation coming into claims, certainly the old way was always the best underwriters, the ones that got some claims experience. I mean, is that still true? Would you recommend that people do look at that as a way of getting into the industry? And have you seen any initiatives that are actually working in that front?
I mean, there's a number of questions now.
Yeah, sorry, I should have asked one at a time.
Yeah. I mean, is any good underwriter, is any underwriter with some claims experience a good underwriter? Probably yes, if you understand the caravan you're dragging along, to use your lovely analogy, which to all my claims colleagues is not true, and we know it's not true. Yes, I think that's true. But sorry, as in they should have some claims experience. In terms of what you're looking to bring in terms of your claims experts these days, you're not bringing in administrators as much anymore as you used to. So everyone talks about, the grounding of a claims person would be taking the first notification of loss calls, or just doing some fairly routine administrative tasks to get your eye in terms of the claims. With the technology that is being embedded in claims operations right now, much of the drudgery is actually being taken away. Now, that's good news because it means that the work's more interesting.
Yeah.
I think that you're looking at people who are much more adept at customer service now, because you can spend time dealing with your customer rather than spending all your time keying in or speaking on the telephone. And to me, that's a really interesting place to be, because you can make the whole work more technical, more interesting, more decision making, more empathizing. And I think packaging a claims career in those terms, I think it's much more attractive than saying you can be on the phone all day and get people shouting at you saying, "Where's my money?"
Yeah, very true.
Is it, say yes or no to this, if you can, is it as easy to say that when a broker has a delegated authority, I'm not trying to trap you here,
Okay.
You are allowed to say I'm not answering, but when a broker necessarily has a delegated authority, the lightest touch possible, but has a claim settlement authority, not liability up to £10,000 in material damage or whatever,
Okay.
is the service given to clients on the claim better with the broker with that delegated authority than it is from an insurer?
I don't think it would be any different. Why would you say it would be different?
I just feel that, obviously I'm a broker born and bred, so I feel that we are lighter on our feet. We are able to react quicker. We do consciously know that renewal is very much up for grabs if we don't settle that.
Define
claim.
better then, because
Speedier?
Well, let me finish the question. Better in maybe your terms would be to pay it.
Yeah. So, say again. Better what?
In your mind, might be to pay it. But how do you as an underwriter?
Yep.
You will not just assume your claims department will pay everything. You will need to make sure it's covered and that the payment's made at the right level.
Yep.
And will the broker, with that delegated authority, give the same balanced consideration to regulatory compliance, to indemnity spend control, and the customer service on top of the renewal consideration that they've got?
Fair challenge. Fair challenge. I would say an answer one way or the other. So if it is a no, I'd rather know now, rather than stringing it out for 3 months and then going back with it.
No, everyone agrees with you. A quick no is better than a slow yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I know
suspiciously like asking for a friend here. Have you got?
now, I know models where there is limited delegation to local offices to make decisions on claims. I understand that.
Yeah.
And in the right circumstances, that would be okay.
Yeah.
Particularly where there's a binary decision-making matrix involved, so there can't be the commercial decision to settle a claim over and above, or maybe slightly in the grey area of indemnity spend, that needs to be regulated, because otherwise you're not giving fair and consistent decision making to customers. Yeah. And that is something that a claims department has to do every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, sympathy with your position on that. When you're talking about business interruption claims, for example, that's a whole different world, right? I mean, that is, a lot of businesses go out of business following a decent-sized claim, but the complications of such a claim lead to what the client might think are delays, et cetera, and to be honest, having a delegated authority on business interruption claims for most brokers would be something that they wouldn't want. I understand.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's asking for that.
All.
Yeah, I think, as you say, I mean, if you look at where claims are being automated right now, so the simple binary, I've lost my iPhone, I need it replaced, for example.
Yeah.
You know, those claims can be dealt with without a human being touching it, because decision making is binary. You could do exactly the same in a local a broking office, but when it comes to those judgment calls, when you go to assessing a loss of earnings claim, when you look at root cause of why a business is going under, you wouldn't want that delegated to someone that's not been trained in those types of claims for a number of years.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, Toby touched on it earlier. Do you see insurance generally, or indeed the specific area that you cover, would be a good career for some university graduate or apprentice? Do you see that there was
always a stability to it?
Yeah.
Went into the claims department, there's always going to be claims, as much as we promise there won't be to the underwriters. Unfortunately, they usually
if you were 16 again now, would you recommend that you go into the role that you have now?
It's funny, I heard someone last week say, I think we've got to stop saying that we all fell into insurance, that actually we chose it. And I completely agree. And you know,
I was press ganged, incidentally. So.
Yeah, I think you've done it right. You've done it right, though. If someone said, this is what the career you're going to have, you'd probably say, yeah, okay, I'll give that a go.
I wasn't qualified to be a banker, so I wasn't clever enough. So
let's
get something.
But if we talk about the previous conversation about the type of work that they'll be doing, I think it's absolutely right to be encouraging people with high skills into the industry. You know, you want people who are numerate, they're eloquent, they can understand people.
We're none of those, by the way.
Well, I think the last one, but also a bit creative as well, because you know
we are that.
Because you don't want the claims department to be a computer says no.
No, completely agree.
I think it's a fascinating.
It's a shop window.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant book by an arch. Can't remember his name now, but it's the leadership playbook. Insurance Manager's Leadership Playbook or something like that. I'm not trying to plug the books, I can't remember the name of it, but he actually starts with claims as his first chapter. He said, it is the shop window. He said, you've got to get it right. Yeah. And he actually tells a brilliant anecdote about how he was actually jailed in Qatar, or one of them, because he hadn't paid someone's claim. So the authorities actually, which is one way of making insurers pay the claim.
Well, that concentrates the mind.
It does concentrate the mind.
You find out the mettle of your insurer when shit goes wrong.
No, you're allowed to say it. Yeah, it's true. No, absolutely.
So, and really, and we know that as well. So we need to be prepared for that, to give immediate responses to the client, to work out where we're going with it, service the immediate needs where you can, give the due diligence where it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you know, if you sell that as a career to someone, you know, there are some people that actually love that. You know, you can immediately get in and help people out.
Yeah, I mean, what's fascinating to me, I think, over the 150 years I've been working in insurance, is that the same things hold true. We're not very good at promoting our industry as being a great place to work, which we've all thoroughly enjoyed. I'm sure there are people out there who are finding it tough, but generally you find people that have thoroughly enjoyed it. That we do say that we've fallen into the industry. But certainly on the claims thing, I guess with the claims thing, the worst thing about it is one claim can poison the water hole, can't it? You know, one badly held claim. I mean, there was an insurer, let's not mention who through COVID didn't pay a whole load of claims when their whole brand was based upon how well they paid claims.
Share price is up though since.
And that can damage the reputation of the industry. Passporting insurers that we were talking off camera earlier, that was a terrible issue when it came to claims, floods in Devon and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's such an important part of what we do, reputationally, if for getting the client for a second reputation.
But I agree completely. And I go back to the balancing act that claims departments need to consider between the regulatory compliance, satisfying their underwriters, to make sure that you're not paying out the claims you shouldn't be paying out, but also satisfying your customers in terms you are paying out what you should be paying out when you should be paying it. Yeah. Under what is typically challenging operational budget constraints. Yeah. So all of that you've got to do, and this is what we as claims managers have to navigate every day. So will you get it wrong sometimes? Will you get that balancing act slightly wrong? You've said no when you should have said yes, or you didn't have the right staff to be able to meet a need on a particular day. Stuff can go wrong, or you don't have the right competence, so they make the wrong decision on liability, or they make the wrong decision on indemnity, or something new comes along you just don't know what to do with, like COVID when it first arrived. You think, God, is this covered? What do we do here? All of those things are going to occur, and therefore it's never going to be a plain sailing. It's always going to be the odd thing that blows up. It's how you deal with it when it comes up, how transparent you are, how quick you are at addressing it. Very
true. And you do get some fun ones, like we were again talking earlier about the notification of summit, and talking lightheartedly, because you see some catastrophic claims as well, obviously.
All sorts, yeah.
And I mean, we joked about one earlier, which I think I'm allowed to mention. It's probably, hopefully, it's settled now. But it was one that came through as a windscreen claim. It was only I looked at it, it said windscreen claim, and it had a 2 million against it. Suddenly jumped, and I thought, how do you have a £2 million windscreen? Like, was it made of diamonds or what? But of course, we'd failed to ask the question when it went to TPA, and it was Autoclass or somewhere, where they said, what cracked the windscreen? It's like, no, he should have asked who cracked the windscreen, because the guy went through it. And you think, okay. Yep. So that's where it suddenly became and you can see where brokers get frustrated, because they don't appreciate sometimes the nuances that come with these monster claims and how long they take to argue out between. I mean, they take typically years, don't they? Years and years. The file gets thicker on the desk.
Yes, someone going through a windscreen, yes, that will take years.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it's quite.
Do you benchmark? Do you have a benchmark internally that you keep secret amongst yourselves? Do you spread that benchmarking around to those that you serve? How does it work?
Yeah. Now, there are some great benchmarking services out there. I don't take commission for these, but there are two, which is Finalta and Willis Towers Watson. And on the claim side, you're looking at average cost per claims broken down by various types of heads of claim and by different types of insurer. There's no point in us trying to set up a rival to that, so we didn't. Instead, we do a claims audit performance benchmark.
Right.
So for the last 7 years of file auditing we've done, we've pulled all the results from all the insurers across the market, and we're probably looking at 150 audits a year across 30, 40, 50 insurers, mainly motor property casualty for the benchmarking. And we break down the audits by maybe 10 different areas: FNOL, customer claims handling, third-party claims handling, use of suppliers, fraud, reserving, and you benchmark worst, average, best in terms of performance score. So, and part of our, whenever we report back to clients, we do it as a free service. Say, here's what yours is, here's what you look like compared to the market, and that way you can work out where you can improve and where you can't improve.
Useful, huh? I mean, it's interesting because people run scared of auditors. I mean, or maybe it's just me.
And rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why.
Some for good reason.
Sadly, usually for a good reason. But I mean, to put people's minds at rest, when you're doing those audits on whether it be an MGA or a big broker holding a delegated authority or on behalf of insurer reinsurers, there's always going to be some element of leakage, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it's kind of natural. It's like even if you meet with the FCA and regulators, you will say no company is perfect and no claims department is perfect. There will always be something that slips through. And I think we're not looking for 100% veracity all the time. We're just looking for consistent, good.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing with leakage is it can be subjective, and it gets people's backs up if you badly appraise it.
Yeah.
So the important thing is about how you communicate it and what your assessment process looks like. You agree your assessment process is up front, so everyone knows how you're going to do it, so you don't have an argument halfway through.
Yeah.
And then what you do is, we communicate every day through an audit and say, this is what we're seeing. Why don't you go take a look at yourself? Do you think we've read it wrong?
Yeah.
So by the time you've finished the review, everyone's seen what the issues are. Everyone knows what's coming. And really what we're talking about is, this is how it's been quantified in an objective way. Let's agree that, so we can get on with the really important thing, which is what can we do about it?
Yeah.
And the same as reserving, which is everyone's fun and games.
In some ways, I am envious. Oh, sorry. I am envious of the fact that you get to see the broad industry picture. So rather than just working for an individual claims department where you get to see, like, you've got the almost pyramid of the real, like, claims, and then you've got the broad attritional ones at the bottom. I might copyright that. That's quite good. The pyramid idea. There you go. A bit of creativity. But that's what you'd only get in one claims department. You get to see, like, you can invert that pyramid sometimes, spend more time on the big claims.
I
so
mean, that
you get to see some interesting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that was the interest of it. I mean, to be fair, as a breed, claims managers do collaborate reasonably well. You'll find us, either in official or unofficial forums talking about.
I love claims. I like going to that one.
I love
not
claims.
The most sober event, I'll be honest.
I love claims. Is good. I mean, there's.
You need to get out more.
It's actually really good.
I know. My missus takes the mickey out of that one as well. But I mean, there's been a standing tradition called UCMAR, UK Claims Managers Association, that's still going, and we'll talk there about what we're facing, and we're not doing anything monopolising there, but it's just sharing the pain, really. So we are good at that. So to be able to set up a business where I can actually do that officially and do that independently and just speak to everyone about what's going on, see what they're facing, help them quantify that, and then help them improve that. It's a great buzz. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You plainly enjoy it. You're proud of what you do. What's the future hold for SX3?
I mean, we're in year 11 now. We've grown 11 years straight. We've got 57 subject matter experts.
Wow.
We are reaching across about 9 different classes of business now. So I don't see us going anywhere different from where we are now. I think I set it up as almost like a fourth emergency service for claims managers.
It is a fair comment, that.
And I continue to want to do that, because that's when I was running claims operations, I'd always feel I was a little bit short of capacity, or I needed to know something, whatever. Where do I go? And I thought I need to set something up. That's pretty well what we do.
Yeah, and I reckon that, and Toby was talking to me earlier about you and what you were doing. You're a great assistant in people actually being able to obtain capacity, because you're giving an independent view on, let's be honest, the main event for a capacity provider, that you're dealing with claims fairly and quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and because we're independent, you know, we're just going to say what it is. You know, we're not. There's no bias in there.
Yeah.
And the clearer we can give that, particularly because we use people who used to work in claims operations who are producing the results. So you know, we walked in their shoes. We can talk the language. We can express it in a very simple way. I think that really helps people get to the bottom of what they want to do.
A success story. Well, look, we're running out of time. I know you have.
We have our final question, which is always an interesting one. I was going to try and steer it towards Parliament and like the kind of evolution of like the claims management companies and how they should regulate them more and things like that. But obviously that's my natural bias. So I'm going to actually give you completely the floor and say there was something you wanted our listeners to give them pause for thought, maybe even a controversial view that they can go away and think that's a really interesting insight into claims or the industry generally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid I'm a bit of a techie here, so it's going to either excite people or not excite people. We could do more data sharing, and just to explain that, you know, where people get on motor claims, for example, credit hire is still a big bugbear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
now brokers will see it from one sense,
Yeah.
insurers will see it from another sense. Part of the friction there is to actually trying to trust that the length of the hire is right. Reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, someone's holding the data within the body shop for the vehicle that was repaired.
Absolutely.
When was it booked in? When were the parts first ordered? How many parts were replaced? When was it signed off?
Yeah.
And if you could get that data and align that as part of the credit hire pack, then rather than going, is that 22 days reasonable, we can actually see the journey rather than having to ask someone else to do it. Cash flow's improved, friction's reduced, maybe commissions are better for brokers because there's less operational cost to the credit hirer. So, but
why don't they do that? Why is that not? Because it's a disparate industry and there's loads of different people.
That's absolutely right. So it's not everyone holding the same data, but there is a way, if everyone wants to pull on the same end of the rope, everyone benefits from if you start to do that.
Yeah, it's true.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
It is,
Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Adrian. Yeah, fantastic.
Cheers.
Great. Thank you.